ponytails gaze at the sky. Super like a summer, don't you think so? Super like a summer from the get-go. Don't forget about the resto. Jump, jump, jump until you let go. One time, two, to take your body back. One time, two, sail offshore. One time, two, to take your body back. One time, two, teach me at the encore. Sand in your tippy toes, running to the waterline. It's just a heat on your tummy and a oil for the shine. Super like a summer, don't you think so? Super like a summer from the get-go. Don't forget about the pesto. Jump, jump, jump until you let go. One time, two, to take your body back. One time, to sail offshore. One time, two, to take your body back. One time, meet you at the encore. To take your body back. Down, coming out of PE town. Got a drink, find a shot. Never mind your liver, get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Have a Gino shot.
Gino shot.
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Get to Gino's spot.
Gino spot.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Center Stage.
Indeed, welcome to Center Stage and welcome to Gino's Spot, Tuesday night, 6:30, every single Tuesday, without fail, no matter, come rain, shine, oh God, we hope it's going to rain. We'll see how it goes. A little bit of rain this week. The tanks were just edging towards the halfway mark, but I didn't make it there. We'll see how it goes. And ladies and gentlemen, obviously tonight we have Margie Cullen on, so it's going to be great fun. We're going to talk about, oh my God, she's got a finger in all sorts of pies, not just the business school at NMU, but also some wine and various other things we're going to chat about. And Fires is on tonight with us as well, because it is indeed firing on all cylinders as well. Mike's got a couple of questions he can chirp in as well. And we're having a couple of beers and a couple of gin and tonics. What are you guys drinking at home? We hope you got something. Put your feet up and pour yourself a drink and just relax. Stick it up on YouTube. You can put it on YouTube as well, because obviously YouTube is the best place to watch our Gino spot. That is the best place. You can stick it on the TV and then you can still comment as well. Thank you to our sponsors. Of course, Spar are sponsoring our show, but also they are having the what used to be called the Spar Ladies Race is now called the Spar Women's Challenge, and that will be it's coming up soon. Make sure that you have registered for that as well. I see Roseanne Shadrack online punting that as well. So if you want to see those ads, where to register, just pop onto my Facebook page. And the information is there as well. Just scroll down a little bit. It's going to be very nice. So thank you to Spar, and thank you to Amobia, our internet provider as well. Also, Nicola and the team there, always helping out for years now. For years now, indeed. We just go saying years because I've just come back from Telford. It was wonderful there at the Mad Hatters. We did the golf guys. They were suitably drunk, and they had a great time. And on Saturday night, we had an awesome time there at the Mad Hatters. Those golfers can have a party if they want to, eh? And it was I think they had a very successful week there, doing all sorts and raising money to And I know we had a couple of raffles and a couple of things. It was great fun. They partied until late in the night. Make sure that you that you've got something to drink. Just pour yourself something and relax for the next while. We're going to get to know Margie Cullen, and Fires is going to join me on set. We've got a slightly different set. I don't know if you noticed, it's a bit different. And we're ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. So let me sing you in. Send me a comment. Send me some comments. Stick to the comments in the your messages in the comments. Tell me what you're drinking. Tell me where you're watching from, and I'll sing your comments. We'll do a little bit of song. I think it's going to be. I'll do something here. All right, now I think we do for Margie. We'll do some Scottish song, right, for the Cullens. When I wake up, well, you know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. And Carol Jacobs, flying in from East London, she says, hi, Gino, how are you? And Camilla, she works at the library, she's always on, and I appreciate all that. Is that the purple people eat the rice? That's right, you can't be right for that. And I would walk 500 miles to see Keith Clark. Yes, I would as well. Mark Banks says hello. Is the Snake Park in P available as a venue? Well, I don't know, Mark Banks. I don't think it's in Bird Street anymore. I don't know when you were here or last you see, but I think they got the snakes out and they put it down at the Tropical House. And when I come home, you'll see Garth Webster. He's pretty in purple, that is me. And when I go home, I'll see Olga Williams. She'll says, hello, Gino and Margie, how are you? And having a special gin made by Andre too. All right. And I would walk 500 miles and I would drink 500 too. To be the man who says thank you to sponsors all the way. That's right. Thank you, Spar. Thank you, Spar. All right, that's good there. Indeed. We are singing some nice songs tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gino's Spot. We've always going to have a jewel here tonight. Like I said, get your drinks ready. We are going to have a good time tonight. I don't know where I'm drinking or I'm drinking, or am I drinking or talking? There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed time. It's time for our guest to pop on to Gino's Spot tonight. And let's get the show on the road. Let's get the show on the road.
Welcome to the show. Now it's your time to shine. We're gonna have a lekker chat tonight. Another good time.
And there we have it. We're on live on Tuesday night. We have this on live every Tuesday. Margie Cullen, Professor Margaret Cullen.
Come a long way.
Yes.
I have.
And I know we've spoken about with Fabbri about having you on for quite a while now. I think the first time I met you was at a wine function. I think you were with Meridian, is that right?
That's it, at the boardwalk, yeah.
The boardwalk.
The conference, yeah.
Yes, I remember it was out near the lake. The lake that is no more. It's gone.
At the boardwalk?
Oh.
Yeah, the boardwalk, near the way we used to
Where
have.
the ducks were.
I don't frequent the joint. So
And they used to have the big fountain display and everything, you know.
The highlights of PE has
Oh
gone.
no,
Yeah.
it was the highlight.
Yeah.
It is. It's all been sucked out and is different, completely different.
what is there now?
It's a big shopping centre. You need to go and check it out.
Where
They've
do
even
you
got a
go?
Friesland.
I use online. I do online shopping.
Okay. I just have to ask you, where did you learn Scottish?
Oh no, I did from Danny Fisher. You know Danny? He was from the Blarney Brothers. The Blarney Brothers, yeah.
You
he
need
used to come down.
a
I
better
remember it
teacher.
well.
Yeah, no. I think
Listen, do
no,
you
it's-
think you did well? I mean, all
it's
that
a
stuff
mixture.
comes off the cuff.
I think it came off something else.
No, look, the Scottish accent, you know, it's a bit dodgy, but you've got to use your imagination a bit.
No, I didn't. I
Good.
didn't. I closed my eyes.
Oh, good.
I must say, it's lovely to see you. I've known you for many years.
Many
And
years.
Cheers. Where's
Cheers.
your-
I'm having a water.
Yeah,
Look.
the water, she's having the water tonight.
The water.
Very,
I think sort that out, please.
yeah, no, we'll maybe be able to convince her before the night's out. But Margie, so I mean, we're talking about Meridian. I'm sort of thinking to myself, where were you actually from originally? Where did you come from?
I grew up in Swaziland.
Swaziland.
Yes.
Wasn't Graham Vass from Swaziland?
Yes,
as
he was.
well? Yeah. He was. So you're the second person from Swaziland that we've had on the show.
Yes. I grew up in Mbabane.
Oh wow. Okay.
My father was deputy head at St. Mark's. And my mom taught at St. Mark's,
Okay.
and then with independence, we all ran.
Oh really?
When was that?
When I was little, 1970, we left.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, they got independence from
Okay.
Britain,
Yes.
and all the people left.
And the king took over and started beheading people.
Sabusa.
Oh, was it Sabusa?
It was the coolest thing living in Swaziland because the telephone directory was about that big. And,
Yes.
and his number was in the directory. So
Oh, really?
we used to phone. We would phone the king.
Did you tap it out? Like,
No, it was just one number. 7.
oh,
yeah.
7.
Interesting that you mentioned the telephone directory because, and we can touch on it later, but I always measure the size of a market, well, in the old days especially, by the size of a telephone directory.
Yeah,
Oh,
not
yeah.
anymore.
No, you can't. I mean,
Yeah.
does a telephone directory still exist?
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's nobody's I mean, in those days it was like that was the only place you could advertise.
Correct.
Or,
It was
or
great.
put your name,
For keeping the door open,
Yes.
holding your
testing your strength.
computer, yeah. Doing your modelling or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
but again, I'm asking out of ignorance. Do you get a telephone directory these days?
I don't think so.
I-
We don't have a telephone.
I remember
Yeah,
they used to
nor do
deliver.
we.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Somebody online will tell us when
Yeah,
when
they
did they
will.
stop producing the telephone directly? Or do they still have it? The yellow
It's been
pages.
printed in Durban
Yeah.
by
Yeah,
Universal
they used to
Printers.
throw it
Yeah, on your doorstep.
over the land
yeah,
on your
that's it.
doormat. Yeah,
Okay,
so I grew up
your dad
there.
were your mom and dad were teachers, so that
Yeah.
that would have led you into education. Did you always know that you were going to be in education or teaching or something?
I wouldn't say I knew, but I certainly like teaching. I feel it's a lot of performing,
Yes.
and I danced for
Okay.
17 years.
Well, I'd like to
Yeah.
come and have a look at one of your lectures then.
So, well, my husband Andre is also a professor,
Okay.
and it's like being
Cheers.
on the stage.
Cheers.
So there's a part of a performance, and
for sure.
apart from the job to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
so
always find the more sort of when the teachers relax, they go into a different zone, and I always some teachers get into this whole sort of rote format,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
But if you're a performer, you probably don't.
no, I have a lot
But
of
then-
fun in class.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then, just as a matter of interest, I mean, after school, am I right in saying you joined SFW?
Yes. No, no.
Were you at
no.
school in South Africa then, or where did you go from Swaziland? Did
We
you
came
go?
to Port
To
Elizabeth.
PE?
Yeah,
Okay.
my dad got a job at Grey,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
my mum. They both
Okay.
taught at Grey, and then I went to collegiate school
Oh
for
yes,
girls,
of course you did.
and then went to study teaching purely and simply because my parents didn't have enough money, and I got a bursary,
Okay. Oh, well that's
Yeah.
that
Before
works.
you joined SFW, you actually studied to be a teacher.
and I taught.
Oh, I see. Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I taught
Okay, so-
at Victoria Park.
So from collegiate right to UPE or whatever it was back
Yes,
to, or
yeah.
the teaching college or
No, UPE, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you did.
And what did you teach?
I taught English, Latin, and geography.
Yo.
No, I beg your pardon. I was of the opinion that you joined SFW and then only later on in life.
No.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
at that time when I taught, jobs were all reserved for males.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I don't know who he was, a guy came out of the army and he had my subjects and there was no place for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I left
really?
teaching and I went to work for Bruce Nieberg. I don't know if you'd remember him. Carlin and Company.
Yes, I do remember.
And from Bruce, I went to join the wine team with Olga.
The legendary
The
one.
legend.
The SFW one.
I actually replaced
Yeah, they
Michelle
come.
Brown.
really?
She
Oh,
left
okay.
and I
So
took
she-
her
Right, right.
position.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
Michelle was at
yeah.
SFW.
Yeah.
Just a couple of questions here. You see the questions coming up. Garth Webster
That's
says
my
Latin
dad. Thanks,
teacher.
Garth. Yep.
Jock Cullen.
Turning 91 this year.
Proper Scottish, eh?
Jock.
Jock, indeed. Marcel Thompson says, directory is still going. Received one at work the other day, but very, very thin.
I'm not in it.
Yeah,
So it must be thin.
Well, I don't know. They probably got an old number for me. Good evening, Mars and Fireball. It says, and Gino, looking forward to hearing this. Thanks, Keith Clark, of course, Casey, also.
Knuckle.
Haven't seen him for years.
Also SFW.
Oh,
were
and
you
there's
not?
Denny.
Dennis Karangis as well. How's it, Dennis? Nice to see you. And of
Denny
course,
must spell whiskey without the E.
It's
Then
Irish.
it's Scottish.
It's an Irish.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, that's the Irish whiskey that you like there.
Yep.
That and of course Karangis is at Algo FM now. doing the
Yes,
marketing there.
Yeah, we were at the winery together.
Okay. Oh, as well.
Who's that message from?
No, that is just a normal. That is our. That's us. It's. I put there featuring. Like as if you
I
in.
thought the
Like,
FT was something
no,
else.
as if you like, as if you know, like Pitbull, FT,
Okay.
whatever, you know, or what's it,
so
Taylor
that's-
Swift
that's from
featuring Pitbull, Gino Spot featuring Prof. Margie Cullen.
Featuring. Okay.
That's it. It's like a song. But yeah, so SFW seemed to be a really nice team at that time.
It was. It was really, really cool. We had an incredible amount of fun. And we did a lot of good work. It was at the time when wine wasn't really a preferred beverage. Well, good wine, should I
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
And so Olga and the team, we went out and we educated
Okay. Doing
people
tastings.
about wine. Yeah.
And so, because I think about it now, I remember the Keller Prince, you know, used to get
That
the
was us.
Keller Prince
Yeah.
things. And those big 5-liter glass cans. that
Yeah,
used to
it's
give.
What were some of your brands?
Oh, Mainstay, Niederberg, Keller Prince, Autumn Harvest.
Autumn Harvest.
Crackling.
Crackling.
Rugby, yeah. Zonneblum, yeah, lots of brands. Martel Brandy.
Yeah.
Dennis will have to help me. I can't remember further, but yeah.
Now, am I right in saying Mainstay is no longer? It's been
I
taken off the
think
market.
I'm not sure. I really am not sure. I'm not a cane drinker. You know, they always
Casey
say.
might tell us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's enough people on there that can tell us which is Mainstay still available. We don't see it
Yeah,
as much as we used to.
Yeah,
Actually,
they always
Durban
used
must
to
be
say,
taking straight.
Cain killed Abel and it won't kill me. But I remember the road students, they used to, they banned alcohol in the clubs at 12 o'clock. So no worry for the road students. They would buy jugs of Mainstay and cream soda. And then the clubs would just have these jugs of alcohol.
There you go. It says Mainstay is more
Murtu.
to
Thanks, Denny.
Oh, there you go.
sailed away. So that's SFW stories.
I read recently that it was gone. I mean, imagine that's actually in Durban.
I wonder what that is. About drinking vodka.
He
Easy
says
fun.
the wine tasting at Rhodes University were legendary. What that's hectic.
Part of the initiative was to get wine education into universities. So I started a wine club at UPE then,
Okay.
and I had a wine club at Rhodes.
Oh, wow.
And there was an intervarsity wine challenge.
Oh, challenge.
Yeah, and
You made a competition now.
yeah. And I think it was Niederberg. No, it was Zonneblum. Flew our teams down to Cape Town, and I had a phenomenal team from Rhodes. But I used to drive through probably twice a week and train them, like hard training on tasting. And we kicked Stellenbosch and Cape Town's ass, and we
Really?
won.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember them standing up singing Gaudi, oh, Musik too, on the table. So it was
So
amazing.
is that essentially all about brand building,
Yeah.
the awareness program,
Yeah.
building your own brand?
Building brand. Also, I think it's important with alcohol to have responsible education. I used to do wine tastings in the Tsitsikamma forest for the forestry workers. I should write a book. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
It's interesting. We're going to touch on
Forest
brand
floor.
building later.
Yeah, yeah.
That's that story. So, I mean, we were talking about that at that time where wine was just, nobody thought of like, oh, this is really good wine. The French knew about the wine.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh, yes, like whatever, right? Just bring
Yeah.
me,
Yeah,
just
well,
bring me
as Margie said,
the
I mean,
plonk, the plonk.
wine wasn't really a big feature in.
Especially not in the
40 years.
Eastern Cape.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Not at all. Not
So that education, that then pick that whole market up.
Yeah, it did. We're not we weren't. I don't know the figures now, but top end wine drinking in the Eastern Cape is a very small percentage.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the top brands,
Even today.
Still,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know it used to be 4% of total,
Oh, really?
but I'm talking
Yeah.
high price, very high price. But that figure is an old figure,
And,
so I
and
don't
just as
know.
a matter of interest, what would 4% have equated to in rand value terms? Do you recall?
I don't. I won't remember.
Must have been huge. I mean,
It was big, but we
Yeah.
never got the lion's share, you know, the marketing spend. We got all the crackling money and the mainstay money and the
so who-
ship sharing,
Yeah,
big
Skip.
money for Skip, yeah.
and so who were your who was your competition?
We had the Bergkelder, we had, distillers, we had Boschendal, all those guys.
Okay, so they
Yeah.
were.
Do you think
Big,
that,
big.
that the base of better wine drinkers now? I mean, you go into a bottle store now and there's such a selection of stuff. You know, you can really
Correct.
You can get some nice stuff. And do you think that base must have increased and people like you and Olga and the guys that were actually educating that whole, you know, starting that little spark has created quite a market for that kind of wine now, I think.
I think so. Yeah, there are definitely some very discerning wine drinkers in PE.
Sure.
Lots of wine clubs.
Yes. Yeah.
but,
There's wine
um,
tastings now all over the place, though.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everywhere. I haven't worked in wine for years. I'm more
Spirits.
whiskey. Yeah.
Yes, the whiskey, because I was
whiskey
going to
guy.
ask you about that because I've got a whiskey club, you know. And
One of the 45 clubs he's got.
I know we sometimes get a bunch together every so often and love the whiskey. So are you into your whiskeys?
I am. I used to run. Well, let me just go back.
Yes,
I
yes,
left SFW
Okay, yeah.
when the merger happened between Stellenbosch Farmers and Distillers, and they became Distill. And I was in the very unfortunate position that they didn't want to retrench me,
Okay. Good,
which
good,
made me
good,
quite
good.
sad.
Right.
So I had a bit of a landmark CCMA case. I took them to CCMA and I fought for retrenchment. And I won.
It's quite unique.
Yeah, it was actually quite
So,
interesting.
But let me understand this. Why did you actually want to get out of it?
It wasn't the same. And I just saw retrenchment as an opportunity for, I didn't know what at that time.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well,
What sort of era are you talking about now?
probably 20 years ago, 23 years ago.
2000 around then.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you, I mean, obviously you would think to yourself, okay, you know, it's time for change and
Yeah.
and got to do something else. And but and that sort of slides into the other part of your life as well. But I want to get there yet because
Okay.
I want to spot the whiskey first.
Yeah, but the whiskey comes later.
The whiskey after.
Andre had mentioned that,
Okay.
and I didn't actually know this. And
Yeah.
when you arrived, Andre was saying that you're actually a whiskey expert.
Yeah,
So
I've heard about that. You
Yeah.
see, so how did you behind that?
So when I left Stellenbosch Farmers Winery, I was unemployed.
Yes.
And obviously had a lot of knowledge being an educator in wine.
Yeah.
And then also at that stage, SFW had Bell's Whiskey and Hague. And then I was unemployed and having a lot of fun. But when you get unemployed, then you lose your company car.
Yes,
And
yes.
Anyway, it was a
It does
little bit
become difficult after a bit.
Yeah, and then I'm sure you all know Ray Hitzeroth.
Yes.
Very well.
Yes.
Okay, so Ray phoned me and he said, come and do my promotion work for me, manage it for me. So off I went, and I still run and own experiential marketing
Who
business.
was Ray with then at that time?
He was with the Gilbeys, and then Gilbeys became Brand
Gilbey's.
House.
Okay.
That's right.
And I was with Ray during the Brand House
Brand
time,
House,
and
okay.
now it's all Diageo. So,
Okay. Oh yes, yes. yes.
so I ran, and that's where I started. I've got to thank Ray for starting that business. So I still have a experiential marketing business.
Ray embarrasses me a bit. Every time I see him, he says he used to change my wife's nappy.
No, he's not that old. I know he's not that old. 'Cause I know him. He can't be that old.
No, I'm telling you, when my wife was a little girl.
Really?
No, but anyway,
Anyway,
lovely guy.
yeah,
wonderful
lovely.
guy.
So at that time, Diageo embarked on a very similar sort of thing to the wine team, and they made a college of whiskey,
Okay.
which I ran in the Eastern Cape, and my job was to educate people about whiskey
college
and
of
beer.
whiskey?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jeez, it's the first time I've ever heard
yeah.
Yeah.
So I did thousands of tastings.
Really?
Yeah, I have some people who call me their spiritual leader.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, but I love whiskey, and I think a lot of it's got to do with my Scottish blood.
Yes,
And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's still very
Your
current
favourites?
in whiskey. My very, very favorite in the world is Kaulila. It's a single malt from the Isle of Isla.
Yes, I'll have to try that.
Yeah, full of peat, full of
Oh,
creosote.
so you like peat?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
Love
dude,
it.
I've got a little
Ironically,
friend,
I'm sorry
yes.
to indulge
Yeah.
myself. I've never been able to acquire the taste of whiskey, but Keith Clark actually
Nice. Yeah.
gave me a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, which we then decided to keep for when our oldest son turned 21.
Okay.
And it was often under threat, but we
Yeah.
kept it. And he actually turned 21, he was in Paris. So we decided to open it one day, and that I could certainly drink. It's very smooth, but the rest of them are
Just
harsh.
smooth.
blend.
Yeah.
I can't acquire the taste, Margie.
I'll teach you.
Well,
Yes, with pleasure. Yeah.
it'll be
But
difficult
listen,
to
I
get
taught
off that.
Andre when I met Andre. I didn't
Were you
drink
not a
whiskey.
whiskey-
No,
Are you making whiskey with Andre?
I'm about to start.
Really?
Yes, and I'm going to call it the Cullen.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, that'll be my
At
my
the
brand.
same- At the Bridge Street.
Oh, I want to come watch.
Yeah, so while I was with the College of Whiskey, they sent me to Scotland a few times, and I had the most marvelous education and experience. And
Sure.
yeah, so I've kept up with,
Beautiful
with that.
distilleries. Did you go? Which ones were favourites there? with
We went to a few, but I stayed in Drummoor Castle, which is owned by J&B.
Okay.
And then visited a whole lot of distilleries in the
Because
in the
they
area.
obviously J&B and they blend, so they take their whiskies from
Yeah,
from
but
a
they
whole
took
bunch
me
of
to
different.
the Knock and Do's, the single malt for
yes.
J&B. We
Yes.
went to Cardew. But I had a real inside trip with the whiskey blenders and
Sure.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just to recap or summarize here, so you've won this quite unique retrenchment case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
You went to the
unique,
CCMA
yeah.
to get retrenched.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
met
then
Ray.
Ray then gets you involved.
Yeah, but that was like a part-time thing.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so
I worked with Ray. I didn't work for him.
Oh,
So
I
I was
see, okay.
his,
Okay.
like, outsourced.
Right hand woman.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and just to summarize then, you were going around Port Elizabeth, I assume,
Yeah.
or the Eastern Cape, educating people about whiskey.
Okay.
And did you do any courses about?
At that stage, there weren't really any. I've written quite a few courses in whiskey. So I've done quite a bit of staff training for Prestons, for a whole lot of people. Maybe it's one thing I'll do soon, is put a formal whiskey qualification together. But at that time, when I was retrenched, I had to figure out what I wanted to do.
So did you educate yourself
Yeah.
on the making of whiskey?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then I decided that I should do a doctorate.
Well, we're going to come to that.
Okay.
But
So,
had
Margie,
you already you'd already studied obviously after school then your teaching degree, so you had a B. What was
I did
it?
a BA English and Geography.
Okay.
I did a Public Relations Diploma.
Okay.
I did a higher diploma in teaching. Then I did a lot of wine exams as well.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And then I did 2 MBAs. And then, yeah, so there's a bit of competition in the house.
you're the only person, since I've been involved, Gino, I had to actually ask Margie to write for the banner, the advertising banner for Gary. Margie wrote it. 'Cause I couldn't keep track with you.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch, and it's. I mean, we've only been talking about the wine and the whiskey and stuff now, but we get into the education side, and I know that Philippa loves that side as well. My wife
Yeah.
is, and for me the entrepreneurial spirit about you. So already I can see that in the way that you do things, you decide. You're not scared of risk. You're not scared of a bit of risk. You're going to go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And is that your thing? That's entrepreneurial.
Yeah, it is. It is entrepreneurial. Yeah,
Of course, it's scary.
definitely. It can be scary, but you get like a gut feel, and then off you go.
And if I may ask, Margie, over what period of time did it take you to do 2 MBAs?
Yes.
And
I
That's
did
a lot
my
of study.
first, I couldn't quite decide if I should stay in South Africa or leave. My brother had left for America at that stage. And I don't have to tell you, I had quite a
I remember your
colourful relationship with my previous boyfriend.
Gino,
Yes,
what a legend.
Yeah, it
There was
was-
an entrepreneur of note.
of note, yeah.
Of
But it was
absolute
quite
note.
Guns N' Roses kind of.
You're welcome to go there. I'm not going to ask.
No, I'm not-
Listen, he was a legend. I
no,
mean,
he was. He definitely was.
He used to sponsor
Yeah,
us. If you got
yeah.
3 wickets, you got 10 free videos.
Yeah.
And then I remember, in fact, we had come down, we were living in Durban, and we were on our way to watch a test match at St. George's, and driving down Warmer Boulevard, got a phone call from the estate agent, you must sign this document now. Did a U-turn, and he had a bloody pizza shop.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? He had
Yeah,
the video
yeah.
shop, another shop, and the pizza shop,
Yeah.
and he had a fax machine,
Liquor.
so we
Yeah,
signed it quickly.
yeah.
Okay.
So my favourite comment from him, Andre was actually a customer at the video shop for many, many years.
Oh, really?
And Andre and Nino got on very well. And Nino and I parted company, and after many, many
Had you
years.
parted company?
That was,
Oh, yeah.
it was
Oh,
Nick's
I-
cafe. That is now
Yes.
belongs to Mike de Pern there.
Yes.
doing,
Yeah.
the tops.
So now we parted company, and then after a few years, I started dating Andre. And Nino's comment, not to Andre, but to somebody that I know, was saying, you know, Andre's such a nice guy. What's he doing with that bitch? So,
But I can see, you know, in your personality, you're a strong woman. You know, what I mean, I think that's also.
Yeah.
Is it hit and miss? Is either love or hate?
No,
Is
listen,
it-
I will
is
answer
it
that.
polls?
Margie took no shit. Eh?
Yeah.
And that's how I know you. You took no shit. And
Yeah.
I can remember, in fact, Nino was also a guy who took no shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there were often little altercations in
Oh,
the
yeah.
video shop.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah.
you, pass off, yeah.
Yeah, you would leave fast in your car. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he would.
No, yeah. So I don't know how we got to him, but
yeah.
anyway, I got
Subject
there.
was,
But
Your colourful relationship.
Yes,
but
yes.
that
very
was
com-
actually,
oh yes, so why I studied. So anyway,
Yeah.
so then I decided I was going to go and live in America, and then came back and didn't work. I never took the thought any further. So I thought, if I'm going to settle here, I need to do something with my brain.
yeah.
And so I started my MBA at Stellenbosch when I was 29.
Did you go to Stellenbosch? Or you
Yeah,
didn't? Oh,
block,
okay.
no block, so I
Oh, yeah,
commute.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I never finished at Stellenbosch because Nino had a major car accident and I ended up with shops and
I remember
whatever,
that.
yeah.
I remember that.
Okay.
And then picked that up. So I got my honours from Stellenbosch and then picked up and complete. So when I say I've done 2 MBAs, I haven't got 2 MBA qualifications, but
Yeah.
I've done them.
Yeah.
And then completed the second one through Northwest.
And if I may
wow,
ask you, no, you
Yeah.
can tell me to piss off, but
No?
were you working whilst doing the MBA?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So how long was your day?
Long.
Yeah, that's
I
tough.
can imagine. No, listen, this is a story.
It's something I say to my students all the time. You've got to manage your time. So you've got to decide, you know, how are your studies going to interfere with your life?
Correct, absolutely.
So I had a plan. I was never a big sleeper. I am now. I think I'm catching up for all the time that I missed it. But I would get up at like 2, 3 in the morning, work 3 to 5, have a bath, shower, go to work,
Go to
and
work.
come back.
Yo.
That was my study time.
And at that time, what were you actually work was with Ray?
No, that time I was still with Stellenbosch Farmers.
Oh,
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
yeah.
you'd have a full day's work,
Yeah,
Then come back and focus on
Yeah.
the MBA.
yeah, and Nino shops. Yeah,
Yes, correct.
yeah,
You were very active in the shop.
yeah, yeah.
And I remember, Shane, just whilst on the subject of Nino, we started in the corner there, next to Middleton's pharmacy.
Yeah, we
And then
hijacked it a
expanded.
few meters from his mother. She wasn't quite sure what we were doing, and then we had a shop in her shop. So, yeah, those were
No,
years
listen,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
We had left Port Elizabeth, and I remember coming down, and I needed to get a projector, and I went to see him, and I hadn't seen him for many years, and he really had an impressive shop there. Is that video shop still going? By the way?
No. Yeah,
It's part of the
it's
spa.
all, and Mike Burn has taken that. That's First Avenue Quick Spa,
Yeah.
and he's now bought that entire. They've got that, or he's renting that entire section for his new tops, which is amazing. It's got.
I
it's
haven't
got
been in, but
huge
yeah,
fridges
big.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm actually going to a wine tasting there tomorrow night. That's what I say. There's wine tastings all over the place.
Everywhere. Cool.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
have a lemon tree on every month, once a month, I think.
Nice. Yeah.
And
Because interestingly enough, sorry, Gino,
yeah.
he had a guy that worked for him for many
Jimmy.
years. Jimmy,
Still around?
is it?
Yeah.
Didn't he inherit the video shop, or didn't
No.
anyone give it to him?
No. No. The shop closed. When Nino
okay.
passed, they closed
Oh,
the
I
shop
see, okay.
down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but Jimmy's still here.
Gee,
Yeah.
I haven't seen him.
I think it probably became a spa after that because I think Nick's, I think it's Terry Bilson originally got that, yeah.
Yeah, they were a
And
few.
Tucker.
Yeah.
But,
And Tucker. Yeah, the Tucker.
Yeah,
done,
lovely
yeah.
guy.
So then you've got these, I mean, you've been studying an MBA is obviously you were deciding you wanted to do something with this as well, practically.
I like studying though.
Yeah, you enjoy
Really?
it? Do you enjoy the varsity thing? Is it because it's goal? It's like a goal or something you want to
I
get
think
accomplishment?
the thing that I like about studying is that it's got an end.
Yeah,
So it's finished,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
you can
You
do
get the
something else.
certificate,
Yeah.
stick
so
it
that-
up.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I mean, how did you the NMU Business School come about then? Was that after?
Well, when I won my retrenchment, I was messing around a bit and
Okay.
lying in the sun and
Yes.
doing some work with Ray. And then I sat down and I thought, well, what can I do? What do I want to do? And I gave a lot of thought and I decided I wanted to do a doctorate. And at that time, I applied for part-time lecturing at the then Technikon.
Okay.
And a very good friend of mine, Archie Charalumbus,
Oh, yes. Geez.
was
What a
lecturing
legend too.
there.
Lovely guy.
And yeah, so I got a part-time job and registered for my doctorate and then ended up getting a full-time appointment.
And how long did your doctorate take you, Miles?
I think 3.5 years, I think.
Also
Yeah.
part-time.
Thing.
Yeah, part-time, yeah. But just to pull it all together, my doctorate was on family businesses in the wine industry.
You?
So to your point, my argument was if you look at the, the big wine families in the world,
Yeah.
their brands, which are their family names, I thought would apply to South Africa.
Yeah.
So, like the Rothschilds
Yes.
and
And
whatever.
does it?
I don't think anybody really picked up on what I was doing because the market here, there are definitely, if I look at, there's some great wines. I'm thinking of Vuuren Rats with his top end wines. And yeah, so.
In South Africa.
Yeah. So some of that, definitely, I think my theory worked out in terms
Yeah,
of what I was trying to prove. The value of a family name
Yes, yes.
and tradition and everything that went with that.
Now,
So-
again, excuse my ignorance. You do a doctorate on family named wines. Who offers a course like that?
it's a family business is part of entrepreneurship.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So yeah, so it was family businesses. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it was pretty much
understand.
because you have to look into entrepreneurial
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw you did a TED talk on that entrepreneurial thing.
Yeah.
Yes, that was great. Yeah. And just that entrepreneurial person, he was saying that. It's a like what do you call it, you call it a hyper skill or something. I think it was like you have to be very. a hyper skill. I don't know how to
It's
describe that anymore.
It's a unique skill.
Yeah.
And I say this publicly all the time, not everybody can be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So do you think
Why do you
it's
say
built into your gene, like your genes? Is it
I think
you're either yes or no?
a lot of it is timing.
Yeah.
You know, so where are you in your life? Where are you in your context?
Yeah.
And you mentioned risk, you know,
Yeah.
because personality definitely comes into it. So we have in this country a lot of what we call necessity entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
which
yes.
are just job replacers. But if you look
Yeah.
at the true definition, an entrepreneur is somebody who employs people, grows the economy, you know, like an
Yeah.
Elon Musk. Or
Like a job
Yeah.
seeker and a job creator.
Yeah, yeah.
It's different. And then you're talking about the low level where it's just like a veggie
Yeah.
seller on the side of the road or something. It's like you start small there, but if you've got the vision, you can build that as well.
You can, but there's a lot more to it. And I believe that most of those people who are selling vegetables, if you went to them and you said, would you like a job, they would say, yes, please.
You know, rather do it.
So
Yeah,
those
I'd
are the
rather-
necessities.
Necessity entrepreneurs.
Yeah, interestingly enough, you talk. I mean, Warren Rippon, who's a very wealthy man today.
Yes.
Prior to becoming wealthy, was selling potatoes apparently on the side of the road in Grandstown. And look at him today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, and maybe
But there was a bigger
selling the
picture
potatoes.
behind it. You see,
Sure.
there was always a bigger picture. So those entrepreneurs, like you say, it's a question of I need to do something, and COVID surely had an effect on that sort of thing.
It did. It's interesting how in some countries entrepreneurship increased in COVID,
Yeah, yeah.
and how in other countries it just obviously killed a lot of it off. So,
Yeah, because those small businesses did suffer, but at the
Yeah.
same time, those guys that were running the small business, if one thing died, they would have to go for
doing
something
things.
else.
The other thing that's really important, and one of my doctoral students has just done a study on the importance of the ecosystem. So it's not that we only need entrepreneurs, we need people in the ecosystem to support them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And if you look at Cape Town, the support of the Jewish community and the Muslim community is
Yes.
phenomenal. You know,
That's so
you
true.
know, networking,
big
sharing
big
business.
communities,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
support each other. I see Dean Allen was
Yeah,
asking
there was
that
a,
question
in
there.
fact, a question
He
there
was
from
saying,
Dean Allen.
in general, what makes it a successful family business?
Well,
I think
that's
your
a
brother
big
and sister-
Yeah, it's
question.
quite a
That's a
broad
big question. I think a shared vision is very important for a family business, and well, a shared vision and a common purpose, and the wanting to pass the business on. That whole
Yeah.
succession.
Yeah.
And then success is relative also. So,
Yeah.
you know, that vision for me is important, and that
And
that
it's,
purpose.
because it's not often the case. I mean, we say family business, and you know, I wonder if it's more common than people having not having. Like I'm a musician, as my son's a musician, but you've never really thought of doing a family business sort of thing. Like when you have a spa or a Nick's cafe
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
you know, then your family gets roped in. Like, come on, you know, come on,
Yeah.
kids, get into
Yeah.
the shop. You
Yeah.
know.
Good
Yeah.
point.
So then it's a physical thing, but to almost focus on getting your people, your family in if they've got similar talents. Is another
I
story.
think that the family business is really misunderstood, and I'll say that when I started working in family business, I misunderstood it.
Yeah.
So if you think Ford is a family business, Peugeot is a family business, Ferragamo, Estee Lauder, I mean, most of the big businesses in the world are family businesses.
Yeah.
So,
They're all involved.
so management, but still governed by the family.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they're critical for the economy. They really are.
Absolutely.
If we look here, Patrice,
Yeah.
if I think of my jeweler, Peter Moser,
Yeah,
family
yeah,
business.
yeah.
There are lots and lots of family businesses, but
Yeah.
we don't see them, you know,
Yes.
we just see them as a business. So,
Yeah, correct.
yeah.
And then you were talking about communities like that Muslim community in Cape Town is huge, and then the Jewish community there as well. You know, you get these pockets. I see the Portuguese guys in Joburg. You know, it's like
Yeah.
they do. Does it affect the entire economy? those things? Is it better for the entire economy if these guys are looking after each other?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, if we look at the Somalis and the Pakistanis, I mean, they're not family businesses, but they essentially are.
They are.
I mean, they look after each other. They
Jeez,
buy,
culturally
you
they
know,
look after each
yeah,
other.
they buy en masse. They
They get
A lot of
together in
lessons.
buying groups
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
go and,
yeah.
and buy
Yeah.
buy stuff together so they get better prices and
Yeah,
therefore
yeah.
and then one Somali shop gets burned down
And then they all help.
they all help the
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
Yes.
to
yeah.
get started again. I mean within a week it's restocked and
Yeah,
ready to go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there'll be
So-
a lot of lessons
Incredible.
in terms of that.
Oh,
So-
yes.
As Philip,
There's the
here we go.
missus. Hello, Philip.
How do you know if a business idea is a good one or not? Is there a way to assess it besides doing business plans and strategy plans, etc.?
Oh,
Sure.
that's quite a big answer.
Yes.
I'm first going to say it must be based in opportunity and not an idea. So an idea
Okay.
can grow to an opportunity, but an opportunity,
Okay.
so, you know, feasibility comes into that. But very important for me also, apart from the business, is who's the jockey. Who's
driving it?
who's riding that horse.
Who's
Yeah,
driving it?
yeah.
Because you have to have that person driving.
Yeah, yeah.
But what you're saying there is that don't have just an idea like, oh, I want to do
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
and then try and do it with only that as your basis.
I see too many businesses built on ideas.
Yeah, something that you love. Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
like, you know, my mother can make lasagna. Let's
Yeah.
open a lasagna shop. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that where all businesses stem from? Ideas.
yeah, but then you've got to test the idea
Yeah,
before you
Good
put the
point.
money in.
Okay,
You've got to
good point.
test
So
that
there's a
idea.
test. There's a testing
Definitely,
process.
Definitely, yeah.
Do you deal with that stuff in the courses?
I
that
do. Yeah,
Testing,
I
yeah.
teach fail fast and fail forward. That's what
Fail
you have
fast
to
and
do.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
That is,
That's what it's about.
That's
And then
very
you
good.
pick yourself up and start
I heard
over
somebody-
again. It's fail fast and
So
fail
let's
forward.
just dwell on that testing the idea then. So what sort of time frame would you give for testing that idea before realizing, well, I'm going to keep the plug in or I'm going to pull the plug?
We talk about a window of opportunity. So, you know, the window opens and then the window will shut. So the time for testing obviously is limited because people don't have resources, but they
Yeah.
don't think innovatively.
Yes.
And they only talk to people that they know will give them a yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
They
So
don't
I
hear
think,
the- they don't
yeah,
hear
you
the
know, I'll
negatives.
Like
say
a
to you,
Facebook
like
click.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So that period, you know, it's a lot of slogging and hard work and actually finding out, is there really a market for this? Who's the customer?
Yeah.
How much are they willing to pay? All those kind of questions. So there's, for me, business is about asking the right questions. Yeah.
I heard somebody say today that it's like, and this goes towards the idea of like, you know, you want to get like a go forward or be positive because you say don't listen to my bad ideas, listen to my good ideas.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So listen to the good and encourage the good ideas because sometimes it's easy to slip back into the it'll never work because of this or you know that's a terrible
Is
idea.
it not a situation or a case of people never want to get rid of their actual darlings? Their nice idea, which you see as a bad idea, and as you said, they don't want to hear the negative.
Yeah.
They don't want to.
And you know, it brings
Yeah.
me to the Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes. Did you follow that? situation?
I didn't, no.
There was a girl who left Harvard, I think, at the age of 19 or 20, and started this, get a pinprick,
Yeah.
can give you a variety of tests from a pinprick of blood.
Yeah.
She's now facing, I think, a 15-year sentence in jail.
Wow.
But after being told that it was a cuck idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh dear. Oh
She
dear.
persevered, and I don't think her intention was to defraud people.
But it just happened. But then you're
Correct.
not doing the due diligence.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you've
due
got to do
diligence.
that. Yeah.
Right.
So you know, I also I think this is funny, but a lot of people don't think it's funny. My students call me the dream killer.
You're not the dream catcher, you're the dream,
I'm a dream killer.
destroyer.
But let me elaborate on
Yes.
that. Get the right dream
Yeah,
You know, a lot of people are chasing things that they don't have the ability, the capability, they don't have the network,
Yes.
they don't, and then it flops. And I think the sad thing is that we're seeing a lot of money being thrown at bad ideas.
Well, you raise a good point here. So a student will come to you and say, I have an idea. Your initial reaction could be, it's a good idea. Well, let's say it's a good idea.
Yeah.
What happens thereafter?
They must go and do homework.
Yeah.
So do
And
some
just elaborate on
research.
Yeah.
Research, who else is doing this? Is there a need for it? What are your costs? How are you going to access the market?
Yeah.
You know, the whole business thing comes up in terms of are you the right person to run it? Then there are hundreds of questions that we ask.
Because you
And
can-
they've got to go and figure it out, sweat the
And-
detail.
You raise another good point here. Are you the right person to run it? The person who's come up with the idea,
It's not always the right person.
well, there's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, apart from that, apart from the bad ideas that, in my opinion, are being funded, we are damaging self-esteem because
Yeah,
these
exactly.
kids are opening
Correct.
businesses and failing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they shouldn't be opening in the first place.
Rather be the dream crusher for those.
Yeah, I think Russia the dream killer.
Killer,
Yeah.
sorry,
So we go back, we're tracking the timeline here. So you've got your doctorate now.
Yes,
Took you 3.5 years. So where are we now? 2018, 17, 16?
2007,
Okay.
You get your doctorate.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus.
Okay.
And then was it into Technicon? So.
But then I was employed. Then I got employed full time, and then I went through another merge.
Yes.
But this time I
NMU,
stuck it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
The NMU.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the NMU, and then the NMU.
So
Yeah.
how did you get involved with NMMU then?
Well, I started lecturing part time when I was doing nothing after my.
Via Technicon, eh? It was
Yeah,
Technicon.
yeah. And then Technicon and UPE and Vista merged,
Okay.
and I was then part of the business school.
Yeah.
And so
Was that Bird Street campus?
we started on 2nd Avenue, and then moved to Bird Street.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I seem to remember the business school being at
Yes,
Bird
yes,
Street
yes,
as
for a
well,
long time.
for a
Yeah, long
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Okay. And then, and I know you've been very involved there, and it's particularly with the entrepreneurship. Gary puts on questions now and again. If you see your
Okay.
eyes going, you check it. Tell us about your
We're getting there,
experiences,
Big G.
your experiences and your role at the business school.
I've been there for 18 years.
Wow.
It's been a good and bumpy.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
Always is, I suppose,
Yeah.
with work.
But what was nice in the beginning, we were a really small school. You know, there were like you get the big five, and there were the big boys out there, and we were these little guys in the Eastern Cape, and
Okay.
it was Professor Jonker, myself, Mrs. Van Wyk. There were a few of us. I mean, I lectured, I've handled all the marketing for the school, you just did
Okay.
everything. And we grew and we climbed and got international accreditation and did some really, really cool stuff.
You just actually touched on something now that you spoke about, as well as the commoditizing of education. It struck a note with me because it's these schools that I see it. I don't know if I'm on the right track, but it's like the schools and the things that they put these courses into easy to sell products.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then the school itself, some schools are, it makes me think, oh my God, some schools are actually owned by the stock exchange, which makes me think, what? Like those guys on the stock exchange, they don't know where their money's going and they don't care. They just want to make more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so surely that puts pressure on the school then to it's not the right kind of pressure. Surely the school is for the kids, the school is for the, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe tertiary is different.
It's interesting. No, I think tertiary's, I think we all work in a commodified, where education is commodified. So I'm going to say, because we get rebates depending on the number of graduates.
Yes.
And yeah, so I'd say things have changed slightly, but that's another conversation for another day. I just believe that as a country, we've forgotten the importance of artisans. And,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
we
yes.
need
The
people who
vocational
can
stuff.
weld and vocational stuff
Yeah.
because that's what builds industry.
Yeah, plumbers.
yeah.
That's a very good
like,
point.
Yeah.
boiler makers, metal workers.
Yeah, millwrights, all
Yeah,
those
we
things.
need those
yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
So let's just understand that then. You don't offer that at the business school, or do
No,
you?
no.
Yeah.
We only work
Purely-
post-grad, so I only
Okay.
work after they've got a qualification or a degree.
Okay.
So no, all our work at the business school is
Postgrad, as you
honours,
say.
masters, doctorate, all up there.
Mm.
So all your artisan stuff would be the TVET colleges or
Yeah.
those
So,
kind
so
of places.
what would the ages be of your students then, or the sort of average age?
Average age probably about 33, 34.
Wow. MBAs.
Yeah,
And MBA is popular for guys. Obviously, they're getting their business going, and they're realizing that
And
they're not
corporate.
knowing, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
They need to know because their accountant's taking them for a ride or
Well,
whatever.
That's it.
It's
That's
a
it.
good point you raised there. I mean, is it about that? Or is it people that need to further their education to get further in life, or they've chosen
It's
that route?
really most of the students. It's that they want to climb the corporate ladder,
Yeah, so they
and
need
the
to-
world's becoming quite congested in terms of differentiation.
Yeah,
So, an MBA used to be a big differentiator, and I still think it's a big differentiator. But if you look at the number of MBAs graduating in the world, what's the next differentiator?
sure.
Yeah.
So Margie, at the business school, you've got postgrads, 30+ years old.
Yeah.
Do you know many of them from your travels around PE or your business leaders?
I do. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he won't mind what I say. I had a guy walking into my office in Bird Street,
Yes.
and he used to play soccer with Gino.
Oh, really?
And he walked in, he said,
Give me his name. Chuck his name
"Is
out
it
there.
really you?"
Chuck his name out there.
Kelly Chandler.
Whoa, jeez, I
Yeah.
saw him the other day.
Well, in the academic world, he's Len Chandler, but he's
But-
Kelly.
But
Yeah.
what a wonderful story Len
Yeah.
Chandler is.
Amazing story. Yeah.
And I reminded him, I saw him,
Yeah.
Michelle Brown and I, in fact,
Okay.
had a brief meeting about a cricket function.
Yeah.
And after Michelle left, I had a beer with Kelly or
Yeah.
Len.
Yeah.
But really, what a lovely guy. I mean, there was a guy who walked in
Yeah.
around the time you would have been with SFW.
Yeah.
I worked for a company called Haddon's with Dave Brickett and
I remember.
a whole lot of
Yeah.
cricket players involved in the business.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a job.
Yep.
And Peter van der Walt, who was the boss,
Yeah.
said, I'm not employing you as a blue-collar worker. Go out and get something behind your name. And look at him today.
He was.
What a wonderful story.
Yeah, so I supervised
I'll take my
his
whole
masters. I also do. I supervised his
absolutely.
masters, and he's gone to Portugal.
That's
For a
where he is
year.
at the
For
moment.
a
He was
year.
leaving.
Yeah.
He was leaving the following day.
Yep.
He was.
Yeah.
And what a lovely story
To
that is.
Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal.
It's
Yeah.
really
There's a whole lot of
fantastic
comments.
story.
Let's have a quick look at some of the comments there. I see John Burgers on there as well.
Oh, John
Let's see there we go.
teaches with me. Yeah. Oh, is that Baby John or Big John?
There we go.
Baby John.
It's Baby John, I think. Yeah, that,
Young
John,
Margaret.
Yeah, it says Fireball. Not sure you aware what a legend in the wine industry that Olga and Margie are in the Eastern Cape. They were a team that showed everybody in the industry how things work.
Thanks, Keith.
So a good punt there. But a punt. We got the punters here as well, Keith. We got some of Keith's punters.
Punters for Keith.
Yeah. We're giving you a punt as well.
Young Margaret.
Young Margaret, says John Berger. He's on there. And yeah, I mean, Keith and the guys are always popping online as well. Keith,
And I
nice to see
see
you on.
Carol's looking for a tequila tasting. We'll get
Oh,
there.
really?
We'll get there. Yeah.
It's, where's that? Oh, at the top there.
Yeah.
It's Carol Jean. Oh, Carol Jean. Yes,
Yeah.
CJ. I'm still waiting for a tequila tasting. Many
Not
different
scared of
tastes.
tequila. Hey?
No, she likes that tequila. I must admit that the only tequila I've enjoyed has been when Carol's been there. Out of her little hip flask, I've quite enjoyed her
Yeah.
tequila. But yeah, so it's okay. Business school. and your own brand is building through that as well. I mean, people
Definitely.
talk about Margie Cullen,
Yeah, yeah.
Prof Margie, and they know, you know,
Yeah.
and you do
legendary
talks
stuff.
and you do stuff as well.
Yeah, I try and do a lot of what I call pro bono work
Yeah,
as
okay,
well. I think it's always important to give back. So whether it in those days with the old BWA, I mentored for them.
Yes, you won the BW as well,
Yes,
didn't
I
you?
did.
The one year
Yeah,
too.
I
Yes.
did. And now I'll mentor through the business chamber. I just haven't had
Okay.
time this year, but Michelle's put up a good
Yes.
mentoring program with that. And you know, you touch lives when you teach. So I've got lots of students who still keep in contact with me and let me know where they are. And
Do you have hope for PE? Because I'm always thinking like PE's got so much potential. Do you think that we're gonna? I mean, the whole country's in a bit of a recession at the moment. We've got to get out of this thing somehow. But do you think PE is well placed?
I think it's like got blinkers on it, carrying a little bit heavy weight on the saddle. But
Very well put.
I don't know if it's going to get out starting gate like immediately.
yes.
But let me say this: I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I travel on a British passport, so I've got the opportunity to go to the UK. I think our work is not done here.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great place. I think it's got wonderful secrets. But people don't understand if they're not from here. So I'm an advocate for PE. I just think, myself included, that we should all get up and do a lot more, like you guys are doing, to actually get out there and being vocal and
Connect
and
people, I think. Try and
I think so, and to
community.
create
You spoke
a
about
momentum.
network earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, the networking is so important. So sorry, just
Nice.
a question I wanted to ask you based on what you said. So you've got all these post grads, and you've got. So when does your day start? When do you physically go there and lecture them? In other words,
only in the evening.
yeah,
And on
okay.
Saturdays,
On Saturdays.
and Sundays sometimes, So the MBA is quite a high pressure time degree. You know, we work them hard.
Yeah.
But I divide my years. So my first trimester I teach like a lot.
Yeah.
That's why I could only my first Tuesday free.
Yes.
And then the rest of the year I will work on my research and I'll travel for research as well. So
Travel as in South Africa?
around the world.
Oh, around the world.
There's a nice question for you here. Well, what do you say to those that criticize academics for being too theoretical and not practical? That's always a.
We're going to come to
thing.
the
Is
textbook.
it difficult to
versus-
teach in an area where you're having your own skin in the game is so fundamental? Like you've got to keep your. How do you keep your, your ear to the ground?
I think, well, specifically in a business school, and let me say specifically teaching entrepreneurship, it's not a textbook
Yeah.
subject. I don't have a textbook for entrepreneurship. I'm the textbook. So I think, like Mike said, we're going to talk about it a bit later. Academic theory is of phenomenal value
Yeah.
if you know what to do with it.
Yeah.
It's the application that,
Yeah. Practical.
the practical that becomes very, very important.
It's not indifferent to cricket. I mean, cricket is a sideways on game. The textbook of cricket will tell you
Yeah,
that if you're not sideways on, you're not going to make it.
that's it.
But the question I have for you, and we're going to touch on it,
Yeah, you do.
is what does the textbook actually say, for instance, in the event of a price war with your
Okay.
competitors when you're all selling a commodity?
Okay.
Do you get in? Do you roll up your sleeves and get into the scrum, or do you sit out, or do you avoid the price war?
I think, Mike, I said earlier that if you know the right questions, it becomes a lot easier. That's the first comment I want to make. The second, I'll get there.
Okay.
The second thing that I must say, because it's my new mantra for the year, is simple is difficult.
Yeah.
And that's really important. So, to your point about price wars, my first question would be, and here come the questions.
Sure, no.
What's the objective? What do you want to achieve?
Survival for a start.
Okay. The second question for me would be, are you aware of your cost structure, your
Sure.
variable, your fixed costs, all those
absolutely.
kind of things?
Absolutely.
So that you have to have in your head.
Absolutely.
And then very important for me is, who are you in war? Who's the war with?
Well, what ultimately happens is one guy
Yeah.
starts the price war,
Yeah.
and invariably everybody gets involved. And you sit there and
They
say,
don't
well,
have to get involved though.
well, sadly they do. And you
It's
know,
like monkey see, monkey do though.
very much,
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Instead of letting that guy
Burn
instead of-
himself out. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Everybody else sitting back and let him get rid of his stock
Yeah. Yeah.
and cut his margin from say 15 or 12
Yeah.
or 10 to
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. The other thing also
But it
though,
doesn't happen like that.
you've got to understand the initiator of the price war's motivation.
Desperation.
It's not always desperation. It
Okay.
could just
That's a
be
great point.
great power. I want to get rid of
Yeah.
you. I'm big enough. Here I come.
Quite correct.
So if I want to increase my market share, if I want to like take over the whole area or whatever, so this is why I say knowledge of the theory becomes very valuable, because you can apply it in different contexts. So you can say, is this just somebody making trouble, or is it a big guy who wants to clear the path?
Well, it's a great point, Margie, but how do you ever know that? Because you don't sit in there, you don't have access to their boardroom and their discussions.
Look,
Yeah,
listen.
yeah.
For me, research and observation is critical. I think
Sure.
you can preempt a movement. And if you're sitting with a competitor that's sitting with an incredible amount of cash, and that will be in their financials or whatever. So you've got to intrinsically know who you're fighting.
Sure.
You know, it's like David and Goliath. I mean, you've got to know what you're up against.
Yeah.
But most people don't bother to find out. They don't go, why they're doing this, what resources do they have,
Yeah.
and then you pick your fight. You know, you don't go in and ask those kind of questions later. So if you're bigger than them,
Yeah.
it's like Putin and, you know, the Ukraine at
Yeah,
the moment.
correct.
So Putin would be the price war kind of guy. You know, I'm going to go in and
Yeah.
I don't
And funny
care.
enough, he's seen his ass.
Yeah.
From what I
Yeah,
understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the motivation, at the end of the day, nobody really wins a price war at all. I just think it's bad business.
Thank
I
you
do.
for saying that, because that's,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's almost, you can almost sort of class it as, what's the term I'm looking for?
Stupid.
Well, yeah, in a sense, but I mean, it's reckless trading.
It is, but apart from the damage to that, it's damage to the brand, the reputation, the whole brand persona, all
the
that
market.
gets damaged.
And the
Yeah.
market, because
And
you
it
know, you've cut your
becomes
price now from, let's say, a
unstable.
15% margin to
Yeah.
a 3%
Yeah.
margin
Yeah.
or 4% margin. Then a month or two later, you've got to go back and justify a 20% increase.
And your consumer's going to say no. You'll get a big pushback. So I don't think it's good business practice. I really don't. There's so many more clever things that you can do in terms of price bundling, and there's so
Correct.
many different things
Correct.
that you can do.
But you know what happens
Yeah.
in price bundling? They always pick the cherries out of the
Yeah, yeah,
basket.
yeah.
And you know the sad reality of this? It is so prevalent in South Africa today.
Yeah.
And not only in the industry I'm involved in. Every oak I speak to is under the same pressure.
Yeah.
Having to cut the margin, get rid of the stuff at whatever cost. And it just doesn't make sense.
I get the pressure in the business. I get the cutting the margins or whatever, but you've also got to sit back and say, what am I offering? What would, and I'm a great
No, it's a-
believer in
that's a
working
very good
in
point as well.
From a customer centricity point of view. What are they prepared to pay for? How far can you push that margin?
Yes.
And nobody really looks at those kind of things.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Least of all the customer.
Yeah, I find people are incredibly operational and Nobody stands back and
Survival
does
and-
anything strategic.
Yeah, correct. And, okay, so just to recap, and
Yeah.
I've actually asked a couple of people to watch the show tonight about this point.
Okay, cool.
The first thing they don't look at is, or gather, is the knowledge
Yeah,
of what's actually happening in that market, or in this particular market.
the context, as I would say.
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
The second thing is, they have a better idea. Meanwhile, what's happening, your opposition are cleaning up, and your sales are dwindling. Because you haven't actually understood what's going on.
It's like the business plan people. You know,
Yeah.
if you haven't done your homework,
Yeah.
Correct, absolutely.
and I find that it's a fairly common syndrome that people like to have something wrong going on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Otherwise,
that's a
you know,
great
what do you
point as
talk
well.
about? You know, you go for lunch and say,
Suffering.
you think you're having a bad time. Well, you know about me. I find it really,
Have to be suffering.
Yeah.
Sounds like artists.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
So just to recap on this,
Yeah.
the textbook will say market knowledge,
Market knowledge. When a market, customer knowledge and competitor knowledge, very specifically. Then things like the macro environment.
yeah,
So things like politics, legal, you know, what kind of opportunities are going to come out of that? Technology, socio-cultural, environmental things can cause huge change in that context.
Yeah.
yeah,
So for me, you've got to know the lie of the land. You've got to know your competitors, what their cost structure is. If you look at Amazon, I mean, Amazon were the people who drove the free delivery.
correct.
Okay.
Correct, but
But
it
if you
must have
look-
been built in there somewhere.
Amazon's cost of capital is phenomenally low. So if you don't understand their business model and their business structure, you can't fight them because you're not fighting with the same weapons.
Yeah, yeah,
And people don't do that check in terms of seeing,
And
you
the,
know, who my
the consumer also
competitor-
doesn't see it.
Well,
they
they
don't
don't
see
care.
it. It's an
Yeah.
internet company. It's not. It's
Yeah.
got
Yes.
only
Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
have not got. They don't have to pay staff.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay any.
Yeah.
Everything's automated,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they can build in those things. They're still
Yeah.
making a massive profit.
Yeah.
Whereas you know, a spa or a whatever, or, you know, they are. You going to their shop. They've got this physical thing available that's costing them money every
Yeah.
single month.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so you've got to look at that, and that's also keeping your community going.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the good of going to spend the money on Amazon or wherever when the money's going out of the country? You know, crazy. Tell us your perspective on how people can learn to practice happiness.
Happiness.
Tell me about this happiness story. I've been hearing about the happiness story now.
I've done a lot of work in happiness, and in actual fact, Andre and I've done a lot of work in happiness. And let me say this: happiness is a choice.
May I interject for a moment?
Yes.
Can I ask you to keep the camera on that perspective, Gino and Margie? Very beautiful there.
Oh,
On that-
He's gonna shoot out.
are you
That one
hearing
there.
it?
How do you look good? Here we go.
I won't be long.
So, what tell me about this happiness story? This,
Okay,
is
there
it
were a lot
a
of.
choice? You say it's a choice.
It is a choice. You know, you'll hear people saying, I'll be happy when my kids leave the home, or I'll be
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
when I'm thin, or I'll be happy when I'm whatever.
Yes. when,
So,
when the kids are
Happiness is a deliberate choice. So it's about a frame of mind. It's about the lens that you look at the world through.
yeah.
But I must just clarify this. The work that we do in happiness is not like the sit on the sofa kind of.
Yes,
you know, like-
relaxation.
yeah, it's not that kind of therapy
Yeah,
kind of
okay.
stuff. So I looked at the world of happiness from an academic point of view a couple of years ago. And you know that they rate countries every year.
Oh,
So you get the happiest country in the
Oh,
world.
no ways.
Yeah. Big.
okay. I'm very keen to know.
The the happiest countries in the world are normally the Nordic countries, so Finland, Sweden, Norway.
Denmark.
Yeah,
Yeah,
them.
okay.
And then if you look at the Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, they actually have a minister of happiness.
A minister of
Yeah.
happiness.
Yeah, we've got a minister of electricity. They have a minister of happiness. And one of their strategic goals is to become the happiest country in the world.
I think Dubai and those places must have a hard time. They've got a certain section of the population that
Yeah,
can't-
they do some really fun stuff though. You know,
Yeah.
the police will pull you over in Dubai and
Okay.
thank you for obeying the speed limit.
What? I'd crap myself.
Yeah, they do. So anyway, so I looked at the world of research of happiness. There's some very big researchers, specifically in Holland, a chap called Vuuren. And then the OECD.
What do they look at? What sort of
Lots of things.
variables?
I'll
Okay,
get to
yeah.
what we did is I looked at the big sort of surveys that were going on in the world and I thought to myself, where's a gap for me?
Yeah.
So we embarked on measuring the happiness of different professions.
Okay.
So between Andre and myself, we've measured veterinarians, engineers, IT people. We haven't
Dentists.
gone there.
Dentists.
The
Dentist is Gary
highest-
wants to know.
Yeah. The highest suicide profession is the vets, the veterinarians. Yeah, yeah.
word.
And believe it or not, I believe, and this I can't prove, in the medical, the anesthesiologists.
Wow.
Because they've got the stuff.
Where'd you find the time to do this
Done.
shit?
So we've done, I think, 11 professions on happiness.
Musicians, not.
We haven't done them yet. We couldn't put them down.
Yeah, God, you
No, we
can't
couldn't
put
put them down.
can't put them
but
down for long
it's
enough.
looking at, well, let me say this, from a strategic point of view, from a company, happiness should be one of your KPIs
Yeah, okay.
because it's a really basic, fundamental thing. Happy employees, happy customers,
That's so true.
happy company. I mean, how simple do you get?
Nobody looks at that though.
Yeah.
That's
Happy
totally
laugh, happy
thinking-
laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking out of the box there, because if
Yeah.
your employees are happy, you always say that. The employees are happy,
Yeah.
there's low turnover, low
Yeah, they
low
want to
attrition,
stay, high productivity, all that.
productivity, they
So,
care.
yeah, we look at things like work-life balance, job satisfaction, alignment of purpose, your personal purpose with the company's purpose. Yeah, so a lot of things, but we've done extensive work and published globally as well
Okay.
in a lot of journals.
And Margs, you actually raise a very interesting point because it's a little bit of a hot button in the lives of some of us who are quite close, and I don't want to mention his name, but we have a group, and one of the guys in the group is, I think, going through exactly what you're saying. A lot of job dissatisfaction, anxiety, possibly
Depression,
yeah.
yeah.
You know,
And COVID as well,
And-
the
and-
long COVID thing is affecting
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the answer to that fellow would be get out of what you're doing, but the fear is
Where am I going to
Where
go?
next?
correct.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know the
You
situation, but I would
throw
go.
caution to the wind.
I would
But,
go.
but for in your
So-
situation, what you're doing there is creating something that the company itself can take on and say, put it with their KPIs, and say your key performance things. This is one of them,
Yeah.
and you can assist with that. Then that's
And
amazing.
then we developed a happiness maturity model.
Okay,
So we'll go into a company and we'll say, okay, you guys are on level 1.
yeah,
If you want to improve, do this, that, get to level 2, and eventually, if you look at, I must think of the company's name, but a lot of corporates globally drive their business on happiness.
okay. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
becoming
it
a really
makes sense.
important
It
thing.
makes
For me,
perfect
it's the
sense.
simplest equation in the
Barbara
world.
wants to
But
know.
conversely, a lot of companies treat their staff very poorly.
Because they can. And now that's the wrong
Yeah.
reason for
So,
it.
Yeah.
so when you
Yeah.
say, let's dwell
Yeah.
on this for a minute. So you say they can, is that because they've realized that the staff are possibly unemployable elsewhere, or why would
It's
they?
their power.
I think a lot of it's got to do with power. A lot of it's got to do with the high unemployment. I mean, we're sitting at 57%
Yeah,
youth
that's
unemployment. So,
shocking.
and I think there's a lot of fear that people don't want to rock the boat because where am I going to get a job?
Yeah.
And if you've got a job's a very sad thing to have.
Exactly.
You must enjoy going to work,
Yeah.
and you know there must be that.
You're calling it a job already.
No, not job, huh?
No, yeah, it's a great point, Margie. It's a very
Yeah.
valid point. So we go back to this guy in the group.
Hmm.
You would say he must throw caution to the wind.
I would. I look, I don't know
Yeah.
circumstances,
Yeah.
but
But in a nutshell, I mean, it's
yeah, that's what I would do. And you know,
Barbara's asking you about teachers. She says,
Oh, we haven't got to them yet.
well, you got yourself. How are you
Yeah.
enjoying things?
I'm happy. You know, the thing about happiness though, is that, as I say, it's not like gummy,
Yes.
things and whatever. I think happiness is an inward journey in as much as it's an outward journey. So, with my, I wouldn't say checkered career, but where I've gone, I deliberately went back to academia because I believe that that was my purpose.
Yeah.
And that made me happy.
Okay.
Do you know, I must tell you, you remind me so much of Johnny Smallwood. I met Johnny. What a lovely guy. What a lovely guy.
Yeah, yeah.
You sound like him as well.
I see him.
Do you see a lot of him?
Oh, with his computer at the harbour or in a
Yeah.
coffee shop or,
No, but
very
what a-
good academic.
What a lovely guy to sit and talk
Yeah,
to.
very, very good academic. Yeah,
In
I've a
fact,
lot of
I
time for
think he's
John.
trying to get a after academia job as the food
Well,
critic in
we're
PE.
all walking out soon, eh? We're at that age. So,
Yeah, finishing up now.
And Margie,
Yeah.
just before he brings up the notes there,
Yeah.
Good.
Gino and I, well, I think Sean loves Gino a darn sight more than he loves me.
yeah.
You see, we're wearing our
Oh, the
instinct.
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 Yes, instincts, you were good.
The relaunch of an iconic brand.
Yeah. There's another
The
one.
relaunch of an iconic brand.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Do you remember the brand?
I do. Mm.
Now, what I wanted to ask you is, what again are your thoughts about the relaunching or the launching of a brand? And I'll tell you why I ask you this. And I may be wrong, but I think they want to follow the surf shop route.
Okay, so my first question is, who's your customer?
It's a good question. I spoke to Dane Clark this afternoon, Casey's son, affectionately known as Butter. But,
Yeah.
you know, he made a couple of really valid points. I mean, number one, he must have been this big, but he remembers Instinct from the 80s.
I remember it, and I'm not a
Yeah.
surfer. Yeah.
And it's a great product, a great brand. I mean, the quality is superb.
Good. Yeah.
And more importantly, he was saying or suggesting that influencers in various centres need to be seen in the kit. But then again, I don't really know what the target market is.
Well, if you don't know that, don't
Well,
start.
Well, we really the
Yeah.
purveyors.
Yeah.
But you need to find that out.
I'm sure they.
No,
have.
but
Yeah,
you
they
need to
can.
find out because you then need to carve everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just give us the rundown then on if you were launching a brand or relaunching a brand, what would you do from an academic or textbook point of view?
Okay, the first
That's
thing
my
I would do
question,
is I would determine exactly who my target market is. Because my target market defines every piece of communication, every touch point, everything that I have. That's the first thing I would do. Once I know that, then I would put my plan together. And the plan has to work like clockwork.
Yeah.
So you go to media, you must be in store, you must be everywhere, orchestrated perfectly. And so you get the message out at the right time. The product must be in the right shop for the customer that you identified. And so it's really an
Yeah.
orchestration.
Yeah, if I may just interject
Yeah.
here. When last were you in a surf shop?
Not that long ago. We were in Jeffreys Bay. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I'm committed to helping Sean make this a success in this area, because this is the zone I live in, and I'm sure he is as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
My experience of walking into a surf shop, the labels are lost there.
Totally lost.
Everything's just like piled up. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to struggle to find the brand that you're looking for, number one. And therefore, I say that, and I've suggested this, that the more people you can reach or the more retail outlets you can get to, the better.
No, I don't agree. I must be
Okay,
honest.
no, well,
Nowadays,
So-
I think
so
it's
what-
different. It's online these days, isn't it?
Well, it's very much online. They're very much online.
But I'm going to go back to what I said. If you don't know who that person
Yeah,
is,
the target market.
Yeah.
Because you go to the surf shops, but a youngster not.
and then
100%.
once you know who that person is, I always ask 3 questions. The first one, is it desirable for them?
No.
Is it feasible for you?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is it viable
Yeah, yeah.
for you? Those are my 3 questions I
Yes.
asked. Then your marketing kicks in, because once I know that this is what the person looks like, this is what they fear, what they listen to, what they care about, who influences them.
Yeah.
Then the basic 4 Ps come into place, because then I know if I want to communicate, with Gino, he listens to this and that, and he reads this and he reads that, and then it's like business is like and don't take this violently, but it's like war.
Yeah, very much.
So
Well,
here I
geez,
am,
I'm in a war
Chaka
at the
Zulu,
moment.
and I'm
Yeah.
going to take out the British.
Yeah.
Chaka Zulu,
I'm the smaller man, but you know what? I'm going to
Peter.
strategically position my resources.
Yes.
And that takes
Okay.
time and placement. And, so I don't want to see
Yeah.
your brand
Yeah.
popping up in the wrong place, because you
Yeah.
build this image of your brand.
Yeah.
So for me, it's tactical, but it's strategic as well.
Mm.
And knowing that customer is absolutely, absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll
you
help
say
you.
I'll be very grateful in order to help Sean and
Yeah,
Simon de
yeah,
Robbenbach.
yeah.
The fantastic youngster. He's with OG Clothing who make the kit.
Okay.
They very
Yeah.
kindly
Yeah.
donated
yes.
some kit to
Nice.
Gino, Gary and
Yeah.
I. And we gave Annie a
But I mean,
t-shirt.
there's this whole like you were just talking about this war where you strategically place your things. So you use this, you use that, you put it in the surf shops, you put it in the newspaper, you put it on social media,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
use Facebook, Instagram, and then the commoditizing of things.
Yeah.
Those influencers are now commoditized. They're like okay, those are the guys you got to give it to, and they influence, and people look at it on social media like, oh, I've got to follow that guy because he's an influencer.
But make sure it's the right influence.
Yeah.
Because some of them are just
Yeah, of course,
too
yeah.
broad. And then it's about being clever. And when I say clever, cleverly strategically.
Yeah.
So it's like, I find it very exciting. You put your stuff in place.
Yeah.
You're always in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
This is a very sort of tactile, people
Yes.
want to touch it.
Sure.
The right people
Yeah.
seeing it. And it just needs to fall into place, but you need to
Yeah.
make that strategy.
I don't know if you've seen
And
this.
Margie, sorry, no, I beg your pardon, carry
Yeah,
on.
no, this pop it reminded me of this Prime Juice story that's come out. It's like I don't know. It's all over the internet at the moment. Like you cannot switch on a Facebook, Instagram thing, and you get this Prime rum, and it's I believe retailers have got it in the shops, and they're taking selfies with it. But it's the kids. And so all the moms are buying this Prime stuff. I don't even know what it's all about. When I see
I
that
don't know
stuff,
either.
I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
switch off. I'm like,
Yeah.
get it over. But that's me, Gen X.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not that. I'm not that generation.
Yeah. So it's really about being tactical and strategic at
Yeah.
the same time.
What
And
about-
like I said, simple is difficult. So
Very much so. Very
just to
much
get
so.
that
And
right.
to add to that, I mean, I would assume that the brand needs to be from all available for all age groups. So how do you get all age groups into a really overtraded market?
I don't know if it would be for all age groups. You're going to have to do some digging and some
Yeah.
research to find out.
Something like Instinct, I would imagine, would
Yeah.
rely on the nostalgia.
It might,
Yeah.
it might
In a
not.
big way.
Yeah,
It
so
might,
then
it
that's
might not. You might
only
have
us.
that, and you might have another emerging sort
Yeah.
of group of people.
Yeah.
But you need to do your homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the two of you think.
No,
it
no,
should
no,
be,
yeah,
you must do some work. Yeah.
I'm more concerned about the Eastern Cape because
Yeah.
if you look at the success of Sharon Kropp in Jeffreys Bay,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to bring a surf brand into the Eastern Cape with Sharon around. She'll drown you.
Yeah.
And she has the power to do that.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'd look at, me personally, I'd look at,
Gorilla.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Gorilla
But the
market.
gorilla is part of your tactical. Yeah. I don't mind sitting and chatting. We can. It's quite a big conversation for
Yeah,
now.
no, it is,
but
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
This
pleasure.
one thing I know Gary wanted to know as well is with your lecturing, you involved at NMU. Artificial intelligence, obviously, now is a bit of a problem, but at the same time, it's an advantage. But it looks like things are going to change.
I think there are two ways you can look at this. You either avoid it, which I think is stupid.
Yeah, you can't.
So you have to embrace it. So Andre's busy becoming a chat GPT
Yes.
specialist.
There we go.
Have a look at this.
And
It's amazing.
I mean, he approached a whole lot of business schools in the country. My paper from last year, gave it to chat GPT and it passed my course. It didn't fail one course. In actual fact, it wrote the one finance paper in 7 minutes.
Oh my soul.
Yeah. So where the learning is, it's very good with the facts,
Yeah.
but it doesn't get the context. So for me, from a learning point of view, is how good am I at setting an exam paper?
Yeah.
That becomes a big learning.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you now,
yeah,
sorry, and
yeah.
I've got to know your husband very
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
He should actually come sit here for 5 minutes. And you know what? Why I say this? I mean,
Bring
what I
him
want-
back for a whole
what,
hour.
what I wanted to actually ask you, what do you actually do on a weekend? Do you read books?
We're right.
Is it?
I think.
No, we do lots of things, yeah. We publish a lot. We really publish a
Professor.
Well, we're going to find out now because
Yeah,
we're
I
going to
get
get
pissed,
into
I'll make a fire,
the
go
getting to
fishing.
know you section is
You
coming.
play the drums.
We're
He
gonna,
also plays the drums.
we're going to have a short section now towards the end where
Where the
we get
drums
to
are,
know
they used to
you.
be there.
Okay.
Yeah, the drums,
Get to
yeah.
know you, get to know all about you.
Okay, something spontaneous or particularly irresponsible that you've done.
I'm going to say,
I disagree with you. I disagree.
I don't like the irresponsible word.
Okay.
I
He's come out
did
of
say
the
something
corner.
spontaneous. No.
Oh, it's
I disagree.
I
particularly
meant-
spontaneous and irresponsible. We won't put the particularly.
I disagree with you. Kaki.
No, I disagree with it too.
Yeah, you see, you got out the corner, you got off the
I
chair
was going to
there.
come and give me a book. When Gary gave me that piece of paper, I was going to say that I got married at
Yes.
age 55 for the first time.
Gee whiz.
Yeah,
So you got married at 55 for the first time?
very first
Well, you know,
time.
Marge,
He's a
funny
brave
enough,
man.
Congratulations.
Very
on that.
brave man.
Dot actually, Dot said to me this morning, didn't you marry Nino? And I said,
No.
I don't think so.
No.
Gee whiz.
I said, I don't think you'd ever got married. No,
Lived
now
in
we know.
sin.
Dot, 55 years old.
Yeah, so
Took the plunge.
No, that doesn't answer the question, but it gives me a good thing about timing and being ready and being happy and living your own dream,
Yeah.
as opposed to a dream that works for you.
You
So
decided that was cool.
best decision I ever made.
And Margs, just as a matter of interest, marriage never interest you because of
No.
your, not,
Yeah.
strong woman, you see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's either got to add value or it mustn't be. So
You're a
They
wonderful
they went and she crushed they killed the dreams of other boyfriends. But Andre soldiered through. He soldiered through.
Killed the dog.
Well, what is something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
I think a lot of people know. Maybe I was a classical ballet dancer.
Well, I didn't know that. It's very nice.
As
So
you
you
said
can do
earlier.
that stuff.
Get the videos
I
up.
was on my way to the Royal Academy.
Oh, really?
Have you got any video material for
I
your
didn't have
next?
videos in those days, did they? Yeah. Yeah.
You learn here. in
Maisie Loudon Carter.
Maisie Loudon
Loudon
Carter.
She's 102 and she's
I
still
remember.
alive in the UK. Yeah.
Oh,
At the
wow.
Athenaeum Club.
Okay.
Yeah. So
live long
I know
enough.
Dawn.
my choice was dance or brain.
Oh, really?
Big brain. Mm.
You picked it. Did you actually have to make that choice? Did you think-
Well, my father sat me down, being a very good Scottish
Like, listen
teacher.
here, I got short
They
arms
said-
and deep pockets.
I had bursaries, and he just said to me, my girl, let's think about this. You're over 6 foot. You go on point. You'll be about 6'7". There's not a man who's going to come near you. No, and then he also said to me, what kind of future have you got? You can probably dance for 5 years, 6 years. And he said, you fortunately do have a brain.
Yes.
So I would recommend you use the brain. So I did the brain.
If you had the choice again, you've got the brain anyway. You know that. So you would have got started later. That's all.
I don't
After
know.
the dance.
I'm not unhappy with her. I would have liked to have gone and done jazz in in the US.
As in playing an instrument.
No, jazz
dance.
dancing.
Oh,
yeah.
jazz dancing.
Yeah.
Jazz
Yeah.
dancing.
Yeah.
Because I'm the cuckers dancer.
Yeah.
You got two left feet.
If Wise is over 6 foot, he done ballet.
And you got a big
Look how he killed your dream. Okay, the most physically painful thing you've ever experienced.
My doctorate.
Physically.
No, physically. That was physically
Oh,
also. I can't actually think of anything.
Nothing. That's right. You can pass on it if you can't.
I pass. I can't
Oh,
think
right.
of anything.
Are the most nervous that you've ever been?
The most nervous I've ever been, I'm going to give you two stories. One was dancing for a very, very big ballet competition. That was very big nerves. And then I recently did a TED talk. And
Yes, I
that's
saw that TED talk. You were very good.
scary. They gave me a red carpet and they said, don't move off the carpet. You will only be 18 minutes and no longer. No slides, clear, go. That was nerve-wracking.
I'm sure.
very
Even for you, Margie.
Yeah.
Because I don't see
You
the
know, when you
nerves.
get that trickle of sweat like
Yeah,
running
yeah.
down the back, yeah, that was nerve-wracking.
And did you crack it?
I think so.
Yes,
yeah.
no, she did.
Yeah.
I saw that. I saw the
Yeah.
TED talk.
Yeah.
You didn't show nerves at all. That was
Yeah.
great.
It was, but very nerve-wracking. Yeah.
It was the entrepreneurial TED
Yeah.
talk. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. Thank
They need to
you.
choose you.
And the hardest that you've ever worked?
Every day.
Yeah, you just go.
I like work. I like work. Hard work, we meet deadlines all the time. So I wouldn't say it's hard work. It's just work. No, not hard work.
Your career highlight?
My professorship, definitely.
No, it's got to be. It's the top rung, you know.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
getting. We should get badges for it on
Yeah.
the side here.
Yeah, I live with a man who has 2 doctorates. He's a distinguished professor, so you know the pressure's
There we
on.
go.
So, and also for
Yeah,
my
lovely.
professorship, my mom and dad turning 91 and mom turning 90 this year, flew out from California for my grad and for my
Were your folks in America?
in LA. Yeah,
Gee whiz.
yeah.
LA.
So they flew out for my inaugural lecture, and
Wow.
when I entered the professoriate.
Oh, the professoriate. Look at you.
Well done, man.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. No, your
Happiness.
happiness. Yes,
Yeah.
you did it on happiness.
Yeah, my whole talk was about. It's in the university archives. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Well, I think that's a
They can
brilliant
be
plan.
very proud of you.
Because it makes
Thank
it,
you,
it
Mike.
gives the companies that chance to see how they staff are doing and what they're doing wrong. It makes
Yeah.
complete sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Andre's doctorate. So what's his speciality?
he's a computer scientist.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
he's making gin every day. Every
Yeah.
time.
Gin as well, right? He's doing gin now. Yes.
He's got a new
Gin
chili
maker.
gin.
And
got a
he's
new
making.
chili gin.
Tell us about his gin. His chili gin.
It's hot.
Is-
Very hot. Very hot.
and they're putting.
I
Tell
don't
me
do
that
chili.
they're putting it
Especially
into
the
Don
green
Pedro's
chili.
now.
Yeah, Don Pedro chili gin with chocolate and a bit of caramel
sounds like
vodka.
I had to just to get you to say it
Really
because it sounds
nice.
so good.
Really nice. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're going to be making whiskey soon. I can't wait.
I am, but it's going to take about 4 years before we get it out the barrel. So,
You're gonna
I
make it
think
at the
I
same
think you
spot.
got to.
yeah. But I'm going to mature it at home.
Okay.
I've got a cave at home.
Okay.
Andre very kindly gave Tim Shaw and I
Oh, a bit of
a
a
walk around the.
nice.
I think you were making some fruity gin that day. I think.
Lovely.
With rose
Maybe
and sugar.
strawberries or
Yeah.
whatever it was, but
Okay, your biggest irrational fear.
I'm scared of heights.
Oh, there's quite a few people on the show being scared of heights.
I get terrible vertigo.
Okay.
So, you know, there's escalators at Heathrow.
Oh,
I stand like this with my
Oh,
feet,
really?
and then I go, okay, go. yeah. So, yeah, I would
Okay.
say heights. Yeah.
if you had a warning label, what would yours say?
Fun.
Fun. Is that a warning? Watch out for Margie, baby.
Yeah. My students used to call me Fanta
Oh.
because the fun finds me.
Oh, excellent! I like that. I like. Well, I can see that in you.
Yeah,
You're full of energy. I like that. It's
Yeah.
got that thing. Is it?
So fun is a warning label. The other one is do things properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise.
Oh, really? Because otherwise you're going to get cut.
Yeah.
Jy gaan 'n bietjie teespoed kry.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, final question. Your plans for the future. And I know that you're going to make whiskey, but
I'm retiring in 2.5 years,
okay.
and I'm going to start my new career.
Which is what?
Definitely whiskey and
the
gin.
whiskey, yeah.
And then, yeah, I've got a few things sort of planned.
Do you ever get cross?
Not really.
No, I don't
No,
think so.
I don't
You
know.
always
I
the
don't-
same.
No, I don't really. No,
Well,
it's
if
a
you
waste
have
of
to-
energy.
Exactly.
That's
Thank
a
you.
waste of energy.
No, it
Yeah,
was
so
it.
my new career, yeah, I'm going to do some cool stuff. Yeah, definitely.
and still a bit of tastings and stuff as well. or
Yeah, I
just-
think alcohol is part of my DNA. Definitely whiskey. It's definitely in my blood.
It's got his blood.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to a new
New challenge.
something. Absolutely.
Chapter, new
Yeah,
challenge.
new
Going
challenge.
forward.
Yeah.
Well, Prof. Margie Cullen, it's been fantastic to have you on board tonight.
Thank you,
It's been
Gino.
wonderful. We're going to give away a
Really long
case of
time.
Fitch and Leeds to one of our guests tonight. Somebody who's online now is going to win Fitch and Leeds. We're going to draw you. We're going to pull the lever, and we're going to do it. Thank you to our sponsors, Spa, and to Amobia for our internet as well as Keith Clark for our punters. Thank you so much. Let's see who's going to win. We've got quite a few people online here. Who's going to win it? Who's going to win it? Is it Jan Boertek?
Oh!
It's Olga!
Your man!
Olga Williams. We'll be sent a case of Fitch and Leeds for your popping on tonight and saying how's it. Thank you so much.
She's got gin.
She's got gin to mix. Brilliant.
Yeah,
She's got gin to
she's
mix
got
that.
gin.
You'll get a pack.
Lovely
of
to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Fires.
And just
Thank
for what it's worth, I asked you on December the 19th. It's now May the 2nd. How fast is this year going?
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Scary, scary. Yeah, scary, yeah.
It's going.
Thank you so much.
It's my first free Tuesday. Can you believe
Oh,
that?
magical. We're so glad we got you. Thank you, Margie.
Thanks, Gina.
Thanks,
Gary.
everyone, for popping online. We'll see you
Bye-bye,
next week,
everyone.
Tuesday.
Relax, sit down. Coming out of PE town. Got a drink, find a shot. Never mind your liver, get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Have a Gino shot.
Gino Shot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Get to Gino's spot.